When my sister Karen went homeless at 18, I took her in. Initially, it seemed like the right thing to do, but I quickly realized it was a mistake. Karen never cleaned up after herself, leaving dirty dishes to pile up, and her boyfriend Ken made unwanted and suggestive comments towards me when Karen wasn't around. My patience was wearing thin. The breaking point came when a friend asked if I was sleeping with Ken because he had spread a rumor that I was desperately trying to. Furious, I confronted Karen and Ken. They didn't deny it. Ken even claimed Karen was okay with it and that I was doing them a favor. Disgusted, I demanded Ken leave or I would call the cops. He left, hurling insults, and Karen downplayed the situation, saying she didn't see the problem since my partner and I were on a break. We weren't. I was done. I gave Karen 2 weeks to find a new place and informed our relatives, sharing the incriminating texts. No one wanted to help her. Karen moved in with Ken shortly after. Despite some harassment, I managed to get a restraining order against Ken, but not Karen. They vanished from my life for a while, with only occasional encounters that were quickly resolved by my threat to call 911. Months later, my other sister Mary, who had been keeping tabs on Karen, messaged me with news Karen was pregnant, and Ken had kicked her out. Mary said Karen used her phone to call me, begging for help. She wanted me to use my family health insurance to cover her pregnancy medical bills. I listened to her pleas for several minutes before firmly saying no and hanging up. Karen continued to spam me with calls until Mary intervened. Most of my family supported my decision, including Karen's mom, though Karen's aunt disapproved. She pressured me until I threatened to show her messages to my stepfather, her landlord, which finally made her stop. A brunch meeting. Mary called me the next morning, inviting me to brunch to discuss Karen. Mary is the peacekeeper among us, and she wanted to find a solution. I agreed on the condition that Karen wouldn't come home with me. Mary promised to drag her out herself if she tried. At brunch, after we finished eating, Mary laid out the situation. She couldn't take Karen with her out of state because she was getting married and they could only afford a one-bedroom apartment. Mary bluntly told Karen that she was lucky to have even stayed with her for a few days. Mary turned to me, asking if there was anything I was willing to help with, given my stable financial situation. I offered 3 options: money for a termination and a hotel room for recovery, a ticket back to our home country to live with her mom or aunt and get free healthcare, or a ticket to our eldest brother's country where he would take her in. I also suggested adoption as an option but made it clear I wouldn't provide her a place to stay or pay for medical care out of my pocket. I gave her some links to nonprofits that could help. Karen started crying, accusing me of trying to take away her baby and being a bad sister. She claimed I never deserved my money, which came from my mother's inheritance. She then made a hurtful remark about my infertility, which deeply affected me. Mary intervened, warning Karen that another word like that would result in her sleeping on the street. Karen then had a bizarre idea. She asked me to adopt her baby. I laughed, telling her she was insane. I didn't want her in my life, let alone her child. Mary stepped in again, telling Karen she had until next Friday to choose between the options I provided. If she didn't choose, she would have to find her own solution. Karen was not legal, and her immigration status affected us. If she lived with us, Mary could lose her job, and I could lose my resident status. We left Karen with Karen's arrest. Enough money for a taxi home. Karen had until the following Friday to decide, but she chose none of the options. Instead, she decided to make life difficult. On Tuesday, Mary went to a nearby national park with her girlfriend. When they returned, they found the locks in their house had been changed, and Ken, Karen's supposed ex, had moved in. The police were called, and it was a mess. Karen and Ken claimed it was their house, but it wasn't even Mary's anymore. It had been sold, and the new family was moving in on Sunday. The police asked for everyone's IDs. Ken, Mary, and her girlfriend had theirs, but Karen only had an expired passport. Karen was arrested on immigration charges, and Ken was arrested for breaking and entering. Later, I got a call from Karen's lawyer, who said she claimed to be my surrogate and that the baby was mine. I told the lawyer I was not looking for a surrogate and had no interest in adopting her child. He asked if I would foster the baby, but I refused. I told him not to contact me about her anymore. A resolution and moving forward. Karen was offered the chance to leave the U.S. willingly without negative consequences for her status. She called my mom to convince me to give her money for a ticket. Mary and her girlfriend paid for the ticket on the condition that Karen left that day. Karen took the offer and left for our home country. Mary and I are relieved this chapter is closing. We plan to focus on our future and support each other. Setting and enforcing boundaries was crucial, even with family. I hope Karen finds stability back home, but I know I did the right thing for my mental health. Moving forward, I'll focus on positive relationships and creating a supportive environment for myself and those who care about me. My half-sister Karen moved in with me to study in the US, staying rent-free due to high tuition costs. Things went downhill when she got pregnant by her abusive ex, Ken, who stalked her to my home. I confronted Ken, resulting in a restraining order. Karen's behavior became erratic, and she accused me of trying to steal her baby, which escalated to her demanding money and threatening legal action. Our lawyer confirmed that Karen had no legal grounds, and she eventually left the country. Update 2. Karen's departure brought temporary peace, but she began harassing our mother for money. She eventually reached me with a 16-page list of demands, including getting rid of my foster daughter and giving her $500,000. I sought a no-contact order in the US and alerted our relatives. Karen's financial woes are unfounded. She receives significant inheritance money, yet mismanages her funds. Her ex, Ken, continues to stalk me, forcing me to move out of state for safety. Update 3. While buying a new PC for my partner, Ken impersonated my husband at the store to claim my order. I arrived to find Ken causing a scene, but the store's policies prevented them from detaining him. After the police arrived, I explained the stalking and harassment, but they considered it a domestic matter. The store banned Ken, and I left with my PC, changing cars with my partner for added safety. Update 4. I moved to a safer town, only to learn Karen was hospitalized after self-harming. She faced arrest and trial but somehow managed to get most charges dropped. Despite being well off from inheritance and her stepfather's money, Karen squandered her funds. She tried contacting my parents for my new number but failed. Things worsened when someone created a fake OnlyFans profile under my name with explicit content. My workplace HR nearly disciplined me until they realized it wasn't me. I sent the fake profile to my eldest brother to handle. Update 5. After a year, I encountered Karen unexpectedly in our home country. She demanded money and property, causing a scene at my hotel. The staff moved me to another hotel for safety. Karen, now working as an adult entertainer, continued her antics, even trying to claim property I was selling. Recently, Karen took her own life, leaving a note blaming me. Mary and I organized a simple funeral as most family members refused to attend. We discovered she left behind $25,000 in debt and had sold our childhood belongings online. Despite the debts, we ensured she had a proper burial. Update 6. Karen's death left a mix of emotions. We handled her funeral and took care of her debts, finding many of our childhood items among her possessions, which she had been selling online. We found closure in resolving her affairs, but the ordeal left lasting scars on our family.